Hello, everyone, and it's finally time. WARNO League Season 0 is coming around, starting tomorrow, and I'm here joined by three lovely people to talk about it, talk about the groups, get them out to you guys, and have a lovely, lovely evening. So, yeah, I'm joined by Bandana, Lathens, and the Wooden Box. Guys, you want
Hello
to...
there.
Hi,
Hey.
everyone.
And the Wooden Box is a shy guy.
Oh, hey.
And, yeah, I
There we
think
go.
we all having a lot of fun with WARNO lately. We have the 16 divisions, but it's time to get serious. And we had 32 people signing up, more people signing up, but 32 people made it into League Season 0. We split it up in two groups of 16s, and now it's time to reveal who is in what group in Division 1. And yeah, let's go in here with the first group. Let's pop that up. Yes, here we go. Group A has a lot of lovely people already in it. And starting with Team and Play, Phoenix, a Wooden Box, and Hippie. So the first of my three guests here already in Group A. And Wooden Box, how happy are you with this group?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It's going to be some fun games. I know me and Hippie have played each other quite a few times in previous tournaments. And Phoenix as well, and then T-Man has been playing quite a lot on the leaderboard as well. You can see he's definitely getting his way up there. So I think there's going to be some competitive games.
Yeah, Team and Play. Phoenix also most likely not so happy with this. So he has not the best win record against Hippie, but yeah. Team and Play also really active lately. I have ran into him, I think, one or two times, and I think I lost both times. So pretty solid player out there as well. And
He's also kind of a player that brings out the wacky threats. He is at least doing that when I meet him. So it's always enjoyable to play against.
so yeah, Phoenix the only one who has casual strategies there, but might adapt to some wild things as well to get up there into the mindset of a hippie. As I think, from my experience, the best way of beating a hippie is using the hippie's own strategies against him. Just be as weird as he is and make it a total mess. So yeah, Group A already a wild one. America meets Great Britain in there, as we have our only two American players in there with Team and Play and Phoenix for Division 1. Division 2, on the other hand, will have a lot of American players. A lot of America represent there. But Division 1, those are our two there. Whilst Europe is strong with this one. So let's move on to Group B, where we have also a couple of veterans, a couple of winners of previous monthly tournaments with Puritaner and Ski, and Maddie, a player who also joined a lot of monthly tournaments lately, and Infamous, someone we haven't seen in any tournament play yet. 3 Germans, 1 Swedish player in here, so really a pretty German group in that. The randomizer gave that the outcome, so that should be a pretty competitive group. Yeah, who would you see as a favorite in this one at the moment?
I'm leaning towards Yuritana. I mean, Ski's really strong. I know Infamous has been up on that ranked leaderboard a bit. I know Lathens has played against him, I think.
Yeah, I had some games against him. I'm also leaning towards Tanner. He's quite a versatile player. Maybe we'll see his special TKS coming out.
Yeah, I think of that group, Tanner certainly stands out. I mean, Medi's always done well and is always improving, and Ski was really good when the game first launched, but I haven't seen a lot of him since then.
Yeah, he took a bit of a hiatus, but he's back in business. And I think we will have a look onto the current rank on the leaderboard later on. Woodenbox made a great Excel spreadsheet that we will have a look on later. But yeah, this is the closest group when it comes to stats in that regard. So should be a really, really nice Group B. Also, Tanner and Ski practice partners, playing a hell of a lot together, so that will be an interesting match between friends when it comes to that. Maybe about the elimination, maybe about the first place. We will see when that comes around. But Group B, for sure, a hot one as well. And now the question is, in which group is Karma? Is it Group C? Let's have a look. Dum 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 dum. Yes, it is. Here we have our only Asian player with Phoenix. The second Phoenix, but this time written a bit cooler. Karma, Yasp, and Sotek. So 3 players with previously tournament experience, and Sotek, a player that is really active on the ladder as well. So this is a pretty hot group as well, but obviously one favorite of the group, one favorite of the tournament most likely in here with Karma. So yeah, who do you guys think? Do you think anyone here has a chance of beating Karma? And what do you think
I
about?
think the second place is more suitable to talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Sotek is gonna take the second place, just from what I've seen in ranked against him.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, all decent players in there, but nobody's really squaring up to Karma. I think it's going to be a challenge for anybody in Division 1 to do it.
So yeah, Yasp, Sotek, and Phoenix most likely fighting for that second survival place into the playoffs, as 2 players out of each group will advance into the quarterfinals. But hey, maybe someone can get at least 1 game out of Karma, and that already would be a big victory, obviously, for them. A big leg up above the competition, as we have seen that in Steel Division with Gonzo sometimes slipping, and that always being really, really nice for the one that gets a map of him. Seldom losing, but a draw already good enough. So let's move on to Group D, where we have our final 4 of this division, with another one out of you guys here: Lathans, Jane, Tofuk, and Rabbit Squirrel. Another group that I would say is pretty well balanced, but obviously you currently as second highest player in here as the favorite, I would say, get Lathans. Or how do you see your role in this?
I think it's going to be either me or Rabbit taking the first spot. Rabbit is the slow mechanized player, which is a great counter to my playstyle of going ham all the time. So it will be rough. I think I have a 50% win rate against Rabbit in tournament games.
Okay, yeah, I haven't. Rabbit also was not playing that much lately, was he? But he has become more active again, and obviously has played in a lot of monthlies before. So yeah, for sure, player we know a lot about as well. Jane improving quite a bit as well over the last couple of months, and Tofuk first tournament, but played a lot of ranked. So Polish representative there in Division 1. Should be a pretty nice group as well. But yeah, I would see you there as the favorite, but we will have a look into the stats later on. So, yep. What do you say about the groups, guys? How happy are you with your own groups, and what do you think are the biggest storylines so far on the table?
Yeah, I mean the groups overall, you've got like a lot of competitive ones in there, a lot of kind of equal players in a lot of them. So I think we're going to get some good games, and I think there's always chances for upsets as well. Anybody can steal a game away from Karma, or some of the kind of lower players who we don't think are going to win the groups can like steal a few games away and make it a bit more exciting, competitive. We could probably see a lot of changes from what we might think will go on.
Also, with this format, preparing and doing research is greatly emphasized, as you can discover weaknesses of players and exploit it, as opposed to like the matchup we usually been getting, where you only play 1 or 2 games and then it goes several months by before you play each other again in the tournament style.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of the groups there, most interesting games for how they'll play out is probably going to be Group 1, just for the weird stuff we'll see.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what Hippie will bring to the table and how he will crash and burn with some of them and how he will make them work amazingly other times. So yeah, that will be a lot of fun. But I guess it's time to move on to Division 2 and have a look on the 16 players over there, because there are some hot matchups there as well. So let's jump in here into Division 2, where we jump into Group A with Deeker Actual and Tag Power, the first of a lot of content creators in Division 2, Gib Hacker and Schwert des Heiligen, which both sound like they're German, but they're actually American. So this is a purely American group here. And this is a pretty hot one as well. Attack Power playing a lot of WARNO lately, trying to get into shape for this group. And yeah, all of these players, known names from Steel Division. So I'm really looking forward to see how they will perform in WARNO, as they also haven't played too much out of Schwert des Heiligen, or sort of the Saint, in tournaments or in ranked so far. So we'll see how their skills will translate over, as WARNO is a different beast than Steel Division. Quite a couple of things, as you also can see in Attack Power's attempts of practicing, which don't all went that too well. But yeah, I had the same issues of translating my Steel Division skill at the beginning. So yeah, we'll see how they will adapt here. Group B, another American group. Players from the Americas here, with another 2 content creators. Hobo Tango, who's also coming in from Steel Division, and the Graham Slam player, or Graham, who was also played in the latest 2v2 tournament, I think, together with Nilla, and has been pretty successful there. So we'll see how he will do without Nilla on his side. Yeah. Mudgreen and Mr. President. Any of the names so far who you guys have met and or in ranked, or any experiences here, guys?
I've played against Deeker Actual in team games. And then I've seen Graham, obviously, in the TV2 tournament recently, and I have watched Attack Power's attempts at training, as you said. So I think there's a few names that kind of stand out. But honestly, a lot of them seem quite equal in their current skill level, from what I could tell, little experience of them. So I think we are going to get some interesting games from Group 1 and 2.
From my experience with a lot of them, I think a lot of the matches are going to come down to who can master air and helicopter usage the best, as that's usually what I've been exploiting against them.
Yeah, helicopters and planes are for sure a different beast in WARNO than in Steel Division, something that you really have to adapt to. And if you don't know how to play against it, you can crash and burn quite heavily, literally. So yeah, that is true. Maybe
Is that the point where I now call for an air nerf again?
Oh yeah, sure. I would say rather change. I don't know if airplay at the moment is too OP, but it's in a weird place. Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing against it, it will bully you. And then
there are some interactions that are quite toxic, but in general, it's quite good, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then we come into Group C, where we have the biggest content creator of them all. Vulcan HD Gaming is joining us here in WARNO League Season 0 as well. So yeah, nice split out of the content creators over the groups as well. We will have a good coverage of all Division 2 groups for sure. Genra, Waffle, Vulcan, one of many mics. Yeah, the other mics didn't join, but this one did. So Group C, British and Indonesian, I think. Yeah, Genra is our one Asian representative for Division 2. Yeah, so that we have an Asian player representative in each division as well. So pretty solid group as well. Vulcan hasn't played much, hasn't played any ranked games so far, but he has played quite a bit of 1v1. in the strike team and so on, and obviously has played a lot of team games. So we'll see how his skills there transform over into 1v1 ranked, into the tournament format. He struggled a bit with it in Steel Division. But yeah, how do you guys rank Vulcan at the moment?
I think we got an ad break.
Fuck. Yeah, but
It should be over now.
okay.
Yeah, so Vulcan. Yeah, I mean the big thing is like translating all the team game experience to 1v1 experience. It's obviously quite different, especially when you look at like deck building and like how the maps play out and how you're like distributing your forces and thinking about your strategy. So I think he's going to be on a learning curve with it. I don't know the level of Waffle General or one of many mics as to Warno.
It's a player that plays a lot of ranked, or has been at least lately. So I think
Yeah.
his stats are not quite representing his 1v1 skills.
Yeah, so he might struggle there, but I know Vulcan, he seems to have a very good grasp of the mechanics and a lot of the core stuff going on in the game. So that's obviously going to help him out.
And then we come to the last 4 players in Division 2, where we don't have any content creators, but maybe one of them steps it up and starts creating content, so we have better coverage of Group D as well, as we have Swift, VRE, Crowd Control, Ajor or Uncle Sam, and Fantix, Division 1 player from Steel Division, so who hasn't quite found his way into Wano just yet, but I would say if Fantix gets a hang of it, should be the favorite of this group, but still a pretty solid group as well here. So, yeah, and maybe Fantix gives us a bit of Hungarian accent content creation as well, so we have it all covered. Otherwise, Bandaner maybe has to cover Group D a bit more.
It's more work for me.
Yeah.
The rumor on the street is that if you want to beat Fantix, you just have to spawn in Amex 10 RCs and he will tilt and surrender.
Yeah, in general, I think aggressive play it tilts a lot of the Steel Division players who are not quite used to the speed. That's usually how you get them. So, yep, a good Group D as well. And that's all of them covered. But yeah, that brings us to having a bit of a better overlook over them. Thanks to Wooden Box's preparation for this whole thing, we have a really nice overview over the divisions that we can go into and have a look onto the groups a bit more in detail. So yeah, here we are with Division 1, with the groups again. Team in place, Phoenix, Wooden Box, and Hippie. In Group 1, and as you can see, Hippie and Team in place here, the highest in rank. Team in place actually being the top player. All of them having a good amount of rank games. The Wooden Box has the fewest, but also the best win-loss ratio out of all players, even beating out Karma, so obviously you're the favorite, aren't you, Wooden Box?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I should win it all, really. And if I don't, it's rigged. So
Yeah.
but yeah, obviously, I haven't played that many ranked games, so it's not as representative as you see of like a few of the other players on the board.
Obviously, this is only his secondary account, though. He's got loads more on his first, and that's actually 98%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to brag though, so we kept this one in.
And yeah, how important do you guys think the experience from previous tournaments will be? Like, do you think it's a big edge over players like, for example, Team and Place, who haven't played with picks and bans, or do you think they will adapt rather quickly?
I think it depends a lot on how the players like play, because if certain players like main divisions or like main pact or main NATO, they can be really nerfed by having their like main division banned. So let's say T-Man Plays is playing 39th like all the time. That's going to be the obvious ban, and then he has to go on to another division where he's maybe not as good. And so I think being adaptable to different divisions and different matchups and different scenarios could be something which they might not be as used to and not play as well with.
There's also the factor that if you're doing like generally the same things over and over again in tournaments that get quickly exposed both by casters and watching other people play, so you need to be quite versatile in tournament games compared to regular rank play.
Yeah. I wonder
Yeah,
how
I
many rushes Hippie has already collected to be versatile with them. How many memes there are in Hippie's toolbox.
More than we've seen in previous tournaments, I'm sure. He'll have saved some up.
His cheeses are like a Swiss Army knife. He has one for every situation.
Big question is, will Hippie be also like, yeah, there obviously will be patches, most likely mid-season, and that's also a big thing, like how fast people will adapt to that. As yeah, obviously Eugen won't stop working on this just because we started the tournament. So we're looking forward to how patches will maybe throw people off guard. Who will be the quickest to adapt there? I think that's also will be a big thing there. How fast you can adapt to future patches that will come out. And
I mean, I think a big part of that will be who has the time to practice in between their tournament games.
yeah, and prepping for future opponents and so on. Yeah, having a bit of time investment between the weeks for sure will be helpful, as you have a schedule out. You know when you play against Tomb at what point, as earlier pointed out by Lathan. So preparation for sure can do a lot. We know that from other tournaments as well, from GSL for example, where we have some StarCraft players who are just way better when they can prep, versus others who shine in those like quick succession tournaments where you just play all games in one day. And we will see who are the best preppers here, I guess. Not just for an atomic war, but also for a lovely tournament. So, who do you think are the general favorites of Division 1, guys? Who are your top 3? Outside of Karma, obviously, which is number 1 for most of us, I guess. Or anyone else having someone else on top place.
No, I'm definitely Karma, number 1.
I would agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you?
So I guess I will start with my top 3 then. My top 3 are Kama, Lathans, and Ski. Those are my top 3. What are yours? Let's talk a bit. Let's get a bit into prediction territory here. Who do you think will make it into the semifinals and finals?
I'm thinking that it's a throw up between Tanner and Ski on 2nd and 3rd place, and I'm coming in 4th. Tanner and Ski usually beats me in tournament place. So I need to be really on the edge to beat them. So Karma on 1, and then Ski and Tanner either on 2nd or 3rd.
I think from my point of view, Karma obviously first, as we discussed. I think Lathans is going to be up there, and it's difficult between Ski and Tanner. I must admit, Tanner might just come out on top. I think, but I'd struggle to see out a group 2 and 3 between Lathans and Tanner. Who I kind of feel like Lathans might get the 2nd spot.
Yeah, Karma number 1, obviously, and then I'd probably go 2 to Tanner and then 3 to Lathans, I would say. And then, yeah, probably Ski 4th.
So, what is the thing that makes Karma so special? Like, especially asking you, Lathans, as you have played him so many times lately. I mean, I have faced him quite a couple of times in ranks as well and got destroyed, but what do you think is the thing why he is above everyone else in the competition?
He's always 1.5 minutes ahead. We are playing in real time. He's playing in the future. That's my biggest issue with him. Watching replays against him, I'm usually able to counter what he's doing at the moment, but then he throws something at me in 30 seconds that I need another 1.5 minute to respond to, and then everything unravels.
Yeah, that feels like a great. Yeah, that makes absolute sense in my. Yeah, I have a similar feeling. Like the couple of times where I feel like, oh yeah, I'm starting well. Like often he crushes me in the beginning of the game as well. But the couple of times I feel well, it's like, yeah, after minute 5 or so, he's just made that 5-head move that I was just absolutely not prepared for. It's all unraveling. Like he also is someone who I think really flies in the current state of WARNO, where it's all still in the flux, because he sees unit interactions faster than others. Like he finds broken things even faster than other good players do. Like for example, his smoke TNT play at the moment is just really nasty. Other people are copying it, but he always finds the next thing before we find it, which I find just so impressive about him.
He also has one thing going for him that I don't think a lot of the other great players have. He has a really good aggression that he are able to uh, retain and stay calm when he needs to. But when he's allowed to go aggressive, he goes really aggressive.
Yeah, I think like the big thing is like he keeps the opponent on the back foot, like always reacting. And I think whenever you get put on the back foot or you're left in a position to react rather than like make decisions yourself and dictate the game, you're most likely going to lose. And I think you see it a lot with like newer players and experienced players. As soon as they start being forced into the back foot and not be the one making decisions of how the game's going to go, they're usually not going to do so well. And Karma just forces that on everyone so well by like decisions he's making, constantly pushing and probing, and constantly being active across the map to find those weaknesses, and keep the opponent spread out and just trying to hold it together.
Yeah, I think Karma, as with any top end player in these types of games, the ability to control the flow of a game makes all the difference. And your opponent's always one step behind in that situation, and trying to keep up is a battle in itself. So if you can be the person in control, you've already won the game.
Yes. Yeah, he's really impressive in that. I'm looking forward to see a lot of good Karma games. And hopefully someone may be able to unravel him or copy him and get on his level within the next 5 to 6 weeks. That would be quite nice to see. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, let's see how it looks in Division 2 with these stats. As sadly, we're not quite able to find all the stats here, but still got a good amount here. And the highest ranked player in Division 2 is Graham, actually. As ranked 132, 33. Playing a lot of ranked. He has beaten me in ranked as well lately. Really practicing for it as well. A lot of pretty balanced groups here as well, though. Especially like if you look at Division 1, Group 1. The balance there is pretty nice. Outside of Giphacker not having played any ranked, but has played quite a bit of team games, so we'll see how that works out. Maybe should put a couple of practice games in today, though, so that he doesn't fall to the other players here too easily in the first couple of games. And yeah, you can see a lot of ranked 150 to 400 here, so should be relatively balanced. Who do you think are the players to watch out here, guys?
I think, I mean, you look at Helgen with 262 ranked games. It's a lot of experience, and I think that can play a big part in how well they're going to do in the tournament. So I think even if you look at like win loss, it's lower than the other players in there, but that experience can be used to a lot of good to help them out. So I think keep an eye on them.
My question then becomes: he has 259 of those games unpacked.
Yeah.
Is it possible to outban him?
Yeah, that might be his downfall.
Is it all with one division or just two divisions? And yeah, is the ban then going to completely unravel that?
The good thing about pack divisions, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for saying this, but they all play either one of two ways. So the skills you have in one pack division is quite transferable to others.
Yeah, they're either heavily in your face divisions or E55 or BMP spam divisions. So
Yeah.
And they all have good air force. Like none of the pack divisions really struggles with bad air. So that's also pretty nice currently. And their AA is they all have somewhat decent AA as well outside of 35th, which has good fighters for it though, and good SU-25s. So yeah, I agree. They're packed a bit more easily transferable, the skill you have in one division into others maybe. Whilst on NATO, the German divisions play somewhat similar. The US divisions have some similarities with each other, but they're all a bit more different between the nations. So a bit
I
tougher
also
there.
think a factor to take into account is how easily you quit the game when you're behind, because Warno is a pain to play when you're behind, and there's usually a lot of opportunities to actually get back into the game because people overextend or do a costly mistake. So I think the staying power of the player in Divisions 2, where there's more likely to be errors being made, it could be a factor that decides who's getting out of groups.
Yes. Mm.
Yeah, I definitely think that would be a big thing. Even seeing some of the games these guys in Division 2 have played, like some of Attack Power's games, he's won the opening, and he's set up like, oh yeah, he should win this game now. He's solid, but then mistakes later lead to lose positioning or things like that, and they'll drop behind. So I think yeah, maximizing it and just staying in the game, you can win. No matter how deep into the game you are, like how far behind you think you are, like your opponent can still make mistakes, and that even goes up to Division 1 as well, but less so because it's less likely to happen. But yeah, I do agree with Lathans there.
I mean, saying that, some of the best games in the previous tournaments have been from Division 1 guys, and the back and forth where one's collapsed completely and then fought back towards the end, and then it's gone back and forth a couple of times. Those are some of the most exciting games, so it can definitely happen.
Yeah, and I feel like in Wano you always have this 40 minutes to fight back too. Like I always feel like, okay, I have that time, I take it now. I quit less than I quit in Steel Division actually in Wano, even when I'm behind, because it's like, yeah, okay, I play till the enemy is at 2000s or till the time limit comes up, and if I can make it maybe back before that, I feel like the time limit is actually helpful with that, for me at least, in mindset wise. But obviously, being behind can be brutal in every RTS out there.
Also think that Warno has a phase system, even though it doesn't have it like formalized. Divisions excel at different times of the map or timelines in the map or positions in the map. So even though we don't got that phase A, phase B system, you have positions and timings on the map where your division is far superior to your opponent, even though it's not stronger overall.
Yes, forward deployment is basically a micro version of the phase system in itself already, like dictating the pace of the game with that. Divisions with more forward deployments will be able to take more ground in the early game, but mostly are balanced out by having some issues in the late game, like not having access to self-propelled artillery guns or big tanks. So there's a lot of interesting gameplay there. I really actually like forward deployment. I was pretty skeptical at the beginning, but the more the game gets balanced out, the more I like it. I know it's still heavily controversial, especially with the wargame crowd, but yeah, what do you think about the forward deployment at the moment, guys?
Generally I like it. I think the biggest issues come into play with map design. And you can see it on, is it a 2-player or 3? 4-player Mount River, I think it is, where you basically start forward deployment fighting already. And on some specific maps, when you look at like either like Two Lakes or Vertigo on those maps where the forward deployment can have such a big impact on those specific maps, where it's sometimes very hard to get back into certain areas. So you look at Vertigo in the city side. If you lose that city side, that map is going to be very hard to win for you. And forward deployment has such a big effect on that. And so I think it's fine to have forward deployment in. I think it works well, and it's like a nice system for divisions and to diversify divisions. But I think the map design has to be catered around it, and they have to be aware of that in like maps going ahead. But I think that's just the biggest impact of it. Certain maps where it's very strong.
I also think that some divisions are doing forward deployment better than others. Like 4th and 2nd Panzer is doing it really well, in my opinion. It's strong, but it's not oppressing. Well, others like 35th and 8th or 82nd, they can bring in AA, they can bring in 2s, they can bring in whatever they want and just sit there for 20 minutes, which leads to quite boring gameplay and is really oppressive if you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll refrain from doing my usual. It's not like that in Wargame, but it's. I think it adds something nice to the game. But these guys are right. There are certain maps where it just functions in such a way that the game's already over if you can't know perfectly how to counter it.
Yeah, map design for sure plays a part, and I hope we see map editor in the future. Like that's coming into a later section of this talk. Yeah, let's wrap up Division 2, guys. Who do you think are the favorites in your eyes? Like, I will start again with my favorites being Graham, Fantix, Vulcan, and then Schwert des Heiligen. And attack power, maybe. Attack power is a slow learner, but he gets good if he can figure out the way of how things go. And if he survives group stage, I think attack power has a good shot as well. But the question is, will attack power survive group stage or burn out in group stage already? That's the one for me there. Those 5 are the ones for me. What are your POVs on these?
I'm also going Fantix, but for Group 3, I think Genera is going to take it. He's been a challenging opponent in ranked, so I think he can wreck some chaos in Division 2. Same for Group 2 as well, Graham, just from his ranked throwing. And Group 1, I actually don't know. I'm just going to give it to Halligan, just because of its pure number of games.
Yeah, I think Group 4, I would probably go Fantix as well. You can see more experience there, and obviously having some SD experience does help. Group 3, Genera, I think I would take over Vulcan. I'm not sure how close it would be. Group 2, I think Graham as well. And then Group 1, I think it depends how much attack power prepares. Because I think obviously from the amount of time he puts into SDT, if he put a lot of time into Warno, and like you said, Protoss, if he got like all of the functions down, all the mechanics of the game down, and did his prep for each opponent, I think he could do really well. So I'm kind of at a toss up between him and Helgen.
Yeah, there will be also something issue coming up that from football leagues as well, with like some people having like the double the exhaustion level basically, because some of these players will also join Steel Division League Season 9 that starts next week, so they might not have as much focus. Like attack power, Hobo Tango, Vulcan, and Fantix might not have as much focus as they want on Wano. We'll see how they will do that double pressure on them. The Doppelbelastung is the German word for it. It will be interesting to see what their focuses will be and how they will if that makes them better or weaker. Because I feel like if you have more tournaments on, it might also get you better into the mindset of tournaments going on, and you just being smoother in it. But it also could just be that you just don't have enough time to prep and so on. Will be interesting to see. Because yeah, Wano and Steel Division are similar in a lot of things, but then also different in others, which can be an advantage or a disadvantage depending on the players. So really looking forward to see how that works out for them. And Plantix being a low self-esteem guy in the chat, as always, is lovely as well. You missed that. So, yeah, let's come into the next step of the talk, where I wanted to go over what do you guys think about the current balance between divisions. And I'm bringing up my more than flawed tier list than that Vulcan and I did. But yeah, how do you think the game is balanced at the moment?
I think you might as well take the 2 British decks off there completely. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, the British decks are not good. If we talk about British decks, it's the pricing for a lot of the stuff. You're so cost inefficient. It just, even if you kind of trade okay, you're still going to get priced out by like the late game, and yeah, those decks aren't doing well. I think the main meta at the moment is T55s and Spetnaz, and that's going to win you games basically.
You also need to take into account that the British is really price sensitive since they're a jack of all, master of none. So they need to be priced correctly for to be good. They don't really excel at anything, but they do everything at a decent manner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but how do you think? How many? So outside of the British and maybe TKS, do you think the rest of the division have a place currently to be played in League, or is the discrepancy between the top decks and the mid-level decks too big to be bridged at the moment?
They can be played, but you're playing with a handicap, so no sane person would choose them in a tournament game.
Yeah, there's I think the big issue is a lot of the kind of the mid-tier decks, they're kind of mid-tier units within those decks. You look at like the Leopards or the M48s, M60s, like these kind of mid-tier units, which are like trying to be like your most cost-efficient units, are just smashed by T55s, which is cheaper and just so much more cost efficient. And so those decks lose out their like really important cost efficient stage within the game. And their like top tier units are still really good. Infantry's generally okay. But they're missing that key part in the middle where they're kind of transitioning from the early game to the late game, where they can't be cost efficient. Because they can't be cost efficient, they can't build up forces and make attacks and make pushes. It's just going to be a lot harder for them compared to kind of like KDA, 4th, 7th.
The only lower tier division I can see actually work is TKS. That's because they can spam out an ungodly amount of units, and if you smoke correctly, you can move them in so close that accuracy doesn't really matter because you will hit anyways, and your opponent won't have enough stuff to beat it down. So you just do like a Soviet mass wave tactic with TKS, and that might actually work. Other than that, I think all other divisions are in a playable state.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward, like as I said before, how balance will toss that around and how people will adjust to that once the next couple of balance patches roll in. As they for sure should roll in mid-season or maybe early in the season. Let's see how fast Eugen is with the next rollout. Yeah, but in general, I think there should be a good amount of variety, and 16 divisions for sure is like I was surprised lately how many different matchups there are going on in ranked at the moment. So people for sure still try to figure out the ways, and like I seldom found myself in the same matchup over the last couple of days. Which
Yeah, it's definitely not like it's been with in the past with like 82nd all the time or the French divisions all the time. It's definitely a lot more varied at the moment, which is nice. I think it's generally in a much better balance than it has been in the past, and a lot more divisions are on a level playing field. And like you said, we'll probably get balance changes within the tournament. So most likely seeing T55s going down a little bit, and that will definitely change kind of the packed meta. And we'll see some other packed divisions maybe coming up a bit.
The only division I think that you're actually trolling yourself, other than the British, by first picking, is 11th Para. I think that's a good counter pick division, but it's easily countered if you know what you're doing. They can easily be countered by spag usage and vehicles with heavy machine guns on.
yeah, division that I really I had some fast rushes with, but if you get figured out, you can get bullied quite heavily. As the Sagai at the moment is just not efficient enough as their only armored vehicle option. Yeah, but I want to hear Tanner. Bandana, what would you buff about the British? What is what would you do to get the British back up there?
I mean, other than my constant request for 27 front armor for the Challenger, it's a pricing issue, I think, more than anything else. I think some of their units just need to be priced down a bit. I mean, a good example that I think I mentioned in some more recent deck build videos was the Terriers. So the territorial troops, they're 50 points, but there are other 50-point troops in that deck from the Germans, the Jaegers, which are much better and they're the same price. And then if you look at the new French deck, you know, they've got stuff that's a lot cheaper that's very similar. So I think there just needs to be a price rethink throughout the deck. And I mean, even the challenges being 300 a pop seems a tiny bit too high for what they are, considering what's on offer from packed decks and things. I don't know what you guys think.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I think that's definitely
So
it.
27 frontal armor for Challenger. You heard it here first, guys. Let's go into that.
There's also a lesser known issue with the British that people are not aware of, but if you look at their vehicles, they don't get heavy machine guns on them. And heavy machine guns are playing a really large role in the damage output and damage versatility of your vehicles at the moment in the game. So not only are the British getting outpriced, but they're lacking that good heavy machine gun on all their vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a direct comparison between the M113 with its heavy machine gun, which is at 20 points, and the Saxon. Jenny has the medium machine gun at 20 points as well. The damage output and impact on the game between those two units is very different.
You could even take the challenge towards the M1A1 HA, and looking at the lack of a heavy machine gun stops the challenge from being able to obliterate infantry as well, which the HA can do.
Yeah, it's only got the two medium machine guns on it.
Yeah, 50 cals or all the heavy machine guns at the moment are slightly overperforming in general, as their ranges are a bit silly if you compare them to 20 millimeters or so. Like heavy machine guns outranging the 20 millimeter autocannons against helicopters and so on, and also nearly outdamaging them is quite maybe a bit too high, but obviously something Eugen is looking into. So let's go into the last segment that I wanted to talk about, and that is, what do you want to see in the future for League and competitive play, and from Eugen for competitive play in general? Like, I will make a start. I would love to get a map maker, like in general, obviously, but we talked already earlier about map design sometimes being a bit unfair to players, but I think having asymmetrical maps will always lead to that in some regard. But on the other side, asymmetrical maps are great for campaigns and so on. So I don't see Eugen making different maps like that. But if we would get a matchmaker, a map maker, we could create our own maps and our own tournament pool, and maybe also help Eugen out making that the ranked pool for competitive ranked play. Yeah, that would be my first thing to put in. What do you guys want to see?
I mean, yeah, that would be great. Really, like you could see such a good process of map maker, like some of those custom community made maps going into like tournament games and being like tested almost there, and then being taken on by Eugen. I think obviously the biggest thing is like a good balance level, nothing like overperforming or underperforming, and just more divisions. I think more matchups, more varied matchups, which you can get, and all the divisions being competitive will make like tournaments or leagues like so much more interesting. Because at the moment you're looking at the few meta divisions, and you'll see like a lot of matchups between them. But if we get everything in a good balanced state, we get more divisions into the game. There's going to be a lot more kind of different play going on.
I hope that Udin are able to bring the game to a balanced state and leave it there as much as possible. I don't want the MOBA style of patches every 2 weeks to spice it up. I rather want the game to be quite balanced, and then us players can figure out ways to beat stuff. I think that's more interesting than a new patch that wrecks chaos every 2 weeks or every month.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you guys have said. I mean, the map editor is obviously paramount for being able to create maps that are balanced in a way. I know that Eugen are obviously very against making maps that are symmetrical, but I think, you know, there's in certain tournament games they can be beneficial. So it'd be nice to be able to have a crack at that, and then just balance in general, that all divisions have a place in the tournaments, and you aren't at a huge disadvantage for picking one over another.
I'm all for asymmetrical maps, but they need to make sure that the main road layout is symmetrical or has similar arrival times. Other than that, they can put asymmetrical buildings and stuff like that. I'm fine with that. But the main road network to zones and choke points need to be symmetrical, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a fairer way to put it. I think the towns don't necessarily have to look identical on both sides or the tree lines, but yeah, timing is everything, I think.
Yeah, early positioning in the games is so important, and see those roads are going to be vital to that. I think another thing which could be cool to have in it is just a division editor or creator, and so having custom divisions, which people can use, would be cool. Obviously, it could be very overpowered, so there'd be hopefully ways to balance that out, but it could be a cool thing.
So you mean like a softer, like a bit of a hybrid between the wargame and this WARNO system of doing things? Like, not quite nations, but like...
Yeah, I guess, yeah, like something like that, yeah. But I think if that's just with like mods or some way of doing it, it would be a nice little touch. Especially when you think of the game as in going for like a long life. As time goes on, it might be interesting. Obviously, we'll get DLCs down the line with more divisions, but having some more community freedom with that.
Yeah, like I think if WARNO will have as long of a life cycle as Steel Division, the amount of divisions we will get will be insane. Like, we're at 86 divisions now in Steel Division with the next DLC, so
Yeah, that's a lot.
that will be would be quite intense. Like, and I'm also looking forward to division other nations, especially in the future, like Norway and so on. I just learned today that Norway in 1989 still had Cheffies in service, which would be quite fun. Use those little light
Amazing.
things.
I have an interesting question for those of you who obviously play SD2 a lot then. Obviously, with there being so many divisions now, is it generally accepted that some of them just will never be something that can be played in the tournament level? Or is everything balanced enough that anything can be brought in.
It's not anything. Like, some divisions currently are just low win rate, but Eugen looks into that. And we also take this, like, for the balance in Steel Division, we currently take the stats from Eugen, combine that with the stats from the Steel Division tournaments, and work on trying to get the low win rate divisions higher, and giving them some buffs, and the higher win rate division lower, with like balance patches coming all like 2 to 3 months, which I think is also a good speed. Like 4 bigger balance patches a year, I think is a also not a big fan of this the like League of Legends all 2 weeks or all each month patches. I agree there with Lathan's that in RTS things settle slower, strategies get figured out slower because there's so many things interacting with each other. That last season I think we had over half the divisions being played. Like, out of these 86 divisions, we had more than 40 of them played in the top 2 divisions of League. So in the high level rank League play. So it's really damn balanced at the moment in Steel Division, especially if you put a couple of bans in. Like, there's like a couple of divisions that are overachievers, but they're getting nerfed every time. And yeah, it's really well balanced. So it's impressive.
That's reassuring to hear, because obviously I'm sort of, as you say, that's where I'm seeing WARNO heading, and that's the only other experience of it is obviously SD2 with this division. So I'm pleased to hear that.
I'm not that bothered about every division being playable, but I want every play style being playable. If you want that heavy tank spam, you can play that. If you want to do the cheap, fast attack French, you can do that, and stuff. That all the play styles are available to you and use. If our goal is to have every division playable, I think we're possibly getting a lot of the same, where something always will come ahead.
Yeah, like as Green pointed out, with real life TOEs also, some divisions will always be like in the shadow of other divisions, but they can still be the second best choice of that kind of version. And if the first choice gets banned, like, I think there's also where pick and bans help out quite a bit. Then they might still sneak in as a good side pick. Like, I think every division in Steel Division by now had a time where it was played in League, outside of a couple of new additions that might get there eventually. Like, I just still can't see how Nov can make it, the Yugoslavian partisans, but that might also be the weirdest formation we ever got in Steel Division, and not something really that, like, I guess it would be like akin with like Palestine forces or so in WARNO, which just I really don't want, and I also really can't see working out here either. But like, all regular army forces had their time where they were playable in tournaments in some way. Like, never, like, some will never be the absolute top, but yeah. And I agree with you there, Lathan's. Playstyles being playable is more important at some stage than divisions. But I think Steel Division is also doing a pretty good show there, and shows that Eugen, in combination with their like support from community, can create solid balance. Like, I would say it's on a similar level to, like, it's how well other RTS are balanced that deep into their life cycle, like 3 to 4 years in. Like, it's so hard to balance RTS well, and have never seen a good RTS balance at launch. Or I don't know if you have any ideas there. Like, so I'm pretty happy with how it is in WARNO at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely been improving it a lot. We've seen a lot of different kind of balance states and improvements and step backs, but I mean, they're constantly working on it, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, I think that's what we hoped for at the start of the year, and they've certainly, as they've added more, balanced it more and more and more, and we're seeing that in the other tournaments, that a variety of divisions are being used. But let's be honest, what we all want to see really is that the British divisions are all S rank and everything else is below.
Yeah, I concur with that.
Yeah, Leifens is just waiting for his Norwegians to come in.
You're getting those chappies.
Yeah, and also, like, I wonder what kind of special forces and so on the Norwegians have to offer then. I really hope we get snow maps in the north.
We
Like-
just throw money at our opponents so they surrender. That's the special move.
Yeah, just splish them down with oil and gas.
I think that's the thing as well, actually. I think something to differentiate special forces a bit more in terms of infantry, whereas that's more veterancy levels. Because I think the performance from, like, let's say like Heimatschützen or the KDA versus like Delta or like SAS and things like that, I think it's too close at the moment. So I think some more differentiation like there would help out some divisions and could be some interesting balance too.
I really want to bring back the trained level that the war game has, as that gives some good flavor without being broken. I also think that special forces shouldn't be the units that kills everything they come across, but they should never like freak out like Heimatschützens would do if they get thrown a grenade at them.
Yeah, it's definitely more to be explored there, I think, to add more interest to the game and to those units in particular.
Yeah, I think Eugen tried to go with as basic as possible into WARNO. Like, we also have to remember, we never had early access with other Eugen games before. And they, like, tried to be as simple as possible and now adding layers of complexity that are necessary on top. And which I think is a good approach. They might have started a bit too basic, but like I like it that they try to make it simple as possible, and now adding the layers of necessary complexity on top. We'll see how they will. I think the one necessary thing for sure is a fourth weapon slot, but hey,
Yeah,
it's a
definitely.
big debate. It has been going on since day one. And yeah, either game level of training or traits from Steel Division or a hybrid kind of system would be quite nice as well.
I also think balance-wise that the game should be less lethal. All the good memories I have from this game is when we're in a heavy tank battle slog or where units survive for a while and you actually make decisions rather than I see a unit fire, it's dead. Okay, let's move on.
Yes.
So lowering like damage output and maybe increasing accuracy and make stuff more predictable in what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's a war game in a realistic setting, so full unpredictability. Don't know, but like, yeah, it's a bit slower time to kill, a bit slower speed in general, maybe. Still something I see a lot being thrown around as well. Which
You of course still want the RNG factor. Every good strategy game needs that, but I feel like currently, especially the AMX10 RCs, show that really well. That you get popped from from something you don't see, and there's like very little you can do against it. If the AMX10 RCs instead had just forced you to back down and go back again and find a new route, I don't think people would have been that frustrated with them.
yeah, I agree there that the killing power of things is quite heavy, quite rough, but also tough to because modern war is quite lethal. So making good representation of that and but still making it a fun game is something that Eugen has to figure out. But I think they're getting closer and closer to it. So still pretty optimistic, and we will see. Hopefully, League will help them out figuring it out further by giving some great examples of games, and yeah, just giving us a lot of fun over the next couple of weeks. I'm really, really hyped that we're having that going on, and if you're out there are as hyped as I am for it, you can help out with Matcherino, where we're crowdfunding this whole thing once more, and you can help out without having to pay any money of your own. All you have to do is go to the Matcherino page and click onto the top right on the claim code button, and you add money for free to the prize pool. I just realized I had the wrong code in there. that the new one is the right one. And yeah, we're already at $63 for the prize pool. Goal obviously is higher than that, but yeah, you can add money for free if you want to help out with some direct contributions. You can do that as well. Let's make this a bit more esports, guy. Yeah, and it just still a couple of seconds, guys. So still a lot of codes to claim. A couple of websites you can visit as well without having to do any interactions that will add free money to the prize pool as well. So yeah, to give back to the players for the time invested and give them a big thanks in some monetary form as well for their efforts. Most likely biggest prize pool part going to Karma, but hey, Karma has to be funded as well, guys. Karma has to eat.
We're all going to be really shocked if someone has a massive upset with Karma and manages to knock him out in the first round.
Yeah, if they somehow, it would be pretty funny if Phoenix, Yasp, and Sotek somehow manage to overcome Karma in the group stage. But maybe those three can do some training camp together, doing some studying.
Group 3 is our hope.
But we will see how this goes. So yeah, I think this was quite a nice talk, guys. Thank you for joining, everyone, and yeah, I hope you had as much fun as I had.
Yeah, thank you for having us on.
And as always, it's a real great initiative of you to start up the league.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us on. Thank you everyone for putting up with us. And yeah, it's really great to see the leagues kicking off for WARNO properly now. And remember, everyone, as Prodos said, please go to Matcherino, get the free money. It's free, and it helps everyone out who's joining the tournament.
And before you guys run away in chat, you should check out the lovely channels of all my 3 guests here. The Wooden Box has a YouTube channel that hopefully kicks back into activity again soon. Lathan's is streaming a lot on Twitch lately on his chase for Karma. And Bandanner obviously has the sexiest voice on YouTube. So give those guys some love as well. And I hope to see you all in the next one, as we have League kicking off tomorrow with a lot of fire. So this should be nice. So bye bye and see you all next time.